After an underwhelming, no, I'm being a little too nice here, how do I word this? Complete f***ing trash past few years on the console, Pokemon fans were living in constant fear, because we all knew Pokemon Diamond and Pokemon Pearl remakes were coming based on the previous generational patterns, and it was clear that the Pokemon team standards were slipping down the tubes. Considering how beloved Gen 4 is, man, that's some rough timing. But hey, the Pokemon remakes were always decent up to this point. Pokemon Fire Red and Leaf Green were great, but Pokemon Heart Gold and Soul Silver were some of the, if not the best, Pokemon titles ever released. So much content, and the, shall I say, Heart Gold standard for what a remake of any game, Pokemon or not, should meet. The third generation remakes, Omega Ruby and Alpha Sapphire, I personally disliked at the time when they were released, but looking back, I don't think they were too bad. And unfortunately, that's only because when Pokemon Brilliant Diamond and Shining Pearl released, it made me realize I took them for granted, and yeah, you can see where I'm going with this. Like, alright, Pokemon Brilliant Diamond and Shining Pearl as games are fine, they turn on, it's functional, sort of. It's, you know, it's Pokemon. It's not inherently a bad game, but more so a bad remake. These games released in holiday 2021, but oddly enough, this time not being developed by Game Freak, but outsourced to a company named Ilka. Ilsa? The only other Pokemon game they worked on prior was Pokemon Home, and that was all their Pokemon experience. That's not a good sign. I don't know about these games, guys. In my opinion, at least, to start, the graphics were pretty underwhelming. This looks like a WiiWare game. I would argue that Pokemon Colosseum was more impressive for the time, personally, but graphics are graphics. That's not the main problem. My personal issues stem from the fact that gameplay-wise, there's some severe problems at play here. Now, instead of having the option for it, there's a forced EXP share. This is a problem since the original game was not designed around that, and they did not adjust the levels properly of the gym leaders and stuff, meaning you're always going to be over leveled. To make matters worse, they didn't take anything from Pokemon Platinum, like this clown of a fire type gym leader who had basically no fire type Pokemon in Diamond and Pearl. They actually did give him some then in Platinum, which is a great correction. And then BDSP thinks it's really called BDSP. And then BDSP thinks it's being a cute remake by being tile for tile. Like, oh, we're just trying to be faithful. My ass, you're just trying to be lazy. Don't lie to us. I could talk for hours about these games, and in fact, maybe one day I will. But in essence, if you want a way to play Gen 4, and there are really no other ways you can legally do it, BDSP definitely, yeah. And in short, there is a good Diamond and Pearl remake out there at the very least. It's just under the name Pokemon Platinum. While BDSP was not that great, the nostalgia and love for the Generation 4 era thankfully was not set to die there. Otherwise, I might have gone into a coma. Earlier that same year, a completely new game titled Pokemon Legends Arceus was revealed in February 2022 in the Pokemon Direct. The Pokemon Presents, totally different. This was an all-new Pokemon gaming experience, kind of mainline, kind of not, although officially mainline, and took place in none other than the ancient region of Hisui, which is basically the Sinnoh region before it was formally founded. It was clear from the trailers that the focus was more on catching and researching Pokemon rather than the sheer battling, and very obviously was supposed to be an evolution for the franchise. Many considered this the Breath of the Wild moment, and the innovations were seamless. No longer were the days of stopping dead in your tracks to catch a Pokemon a thing. Instead, it gave the franchise action elements, such as real-time catching, showing a really interesting and evolutionary step forward for this kind of stale franchise.